Namaste, everyone. Christian Arlong, Life Enhancement Consulting, giving you a big and beautiful shout out on this Monday evening here in Honolulu, Hawaii for our, did I say Transformation Q&A Thursday? Did I say that? And we're doing it on bear with me. Before we begin, let's invoke. See, that's the problem. We haven't invoked all over the place. Beware the heart, beware the crown. Beware the heart and the crown together. To the Supreme God, Divine Father, Divine Mother, respect and beloved teacher, Grandmaster Chola Kuksui, to his teacher, Lord Bodhisattva Meling, to Lord Buddha Kuan Yin, to Lord Ganesh, to the Master Count Saint Germain, to Saraswati, the goddess of wisdom and intelligence, to all the holy gurus, holy masters, saints, archangels, holy angels, healing ministers, to our divine selves or higher souls, we humbly invoke for your divine light, love, and power, for your divine help, guidance, and protection, for your soothing, healing energies. Thank you for blessing us with wisdom. From wisdom comes all other things. We thank you, we thank you, we thank you. With gratitude, respect, and love, so be it, and so it is. Thank you. All right, well, welcome, everyone. Hope you're having a phenomenal day or afternoon or evening, whenever it is and wherever it is that you're watching this. And I was taking my glasses off so the glare wouldn't be so prevalent, but I have to put my glasses back on so I can actually read today's questions for the Q&A. So hopefully it's not too bright or squirrely. And also, hopefully, God willing, the echo is not so intense for you guys, because I'm in a apartment that is not quite furnished yet. We got my air mattress in this corner. We got the office set up here because this is where all the mojo happens. But outside of those two things, the apartment's pretty empty, and I'm waiting to get stuff shipped here. Some of it had to go back, and some of it is waiting to come here in the next 2 weeks. So timing, right? And some of you might ask the question, well, wait a minute. Why don't you just heal your eyesight? Can't pranic healing help with physical conditions? Can't you just heal your eyesight? Can't you just not wear glasses anymore? And that's an excellent question. Two things to that. Number one, it can be done, has been done. Number two, it requires a lot of energy and consistent healing in order to get the result. I remember one time, years ago, Master Marilag, one of the 8 pranic healing masters in the world, she says, do you notice something different? Now, some of you may know I'm very good with details, but when it comes to details around your face, not on point with that. Not very good with that. She says, I'm not wearing any glasses. I go, that's right. You're not wearing any glasses. A flash flood warning is in effect until 10:15 p.m. Ooh, this is a dangerous and life-threatening situation. Well, that's good to get that feedback. By the way, the recording of this is 12/6/2021. My brother's birthday is today. And this past weekend, in the big island of Hawaii, so not here, Oahu, but the big island of the 8 Hawaiian islands, had a blizzard. I don't know what the final record was, but it was supposed to be 12 inches of snow with 100-mile-an-hour winds. So they got the snow, I don't know how much, and they got the winds. So it's been bizarre weather. Since I landed here on Friday, so I've been here Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and today is Monday. The 4 days I've been here, it's rained every single day. And today it's been aggressively raining all day. Not used to this, but hey, it's tropical weather, right? So she said, do you notice something different? That I'm not wearing my glasses. And I said, you're right, you're not wearing your glasses. What did you do? She goes, pranic healing, with that little smirk. Pranic healing. Now, granted, if you're a master pranic healer and you have the karma, it's probably easier to heal your eyesight. But the cool thing was, a few years ago when I went in to visit my my eye doctor in Denver, Colorado, he said, well, when was the last time you had your eyes checked? And I said, about 4 years ago. He goes, interesting. He goes, your eyesight is actually better than it was 4 years ago. And I'm like, pranic healing. Now, I wasn't actively doing the protocol, but there is a specific protocol to help you with correcting your eyesight. Because basically it's a congestion in the Ajna chakra that's very, very deep, and it affects the eye minor chakras and the the temple minor chakra. So you have to do lots and lots of healing for a relatively consistent period of time before you get the desired result of not having to wear glasses. Now, you could spend the $2,000 or $3,000 and get LASIK, which I've heard good things about. I hear it only lasts 15 or so years, 15 or I think it's like 15 years, but don't quote me on that. Just quote me on the price because I know the price. But former girlfriend of mine, she had it done and great result. Like she loves it. Would she have done it? Would she have used the Pranic Healing protocol for improved eyesight versus what she did? I don't know. But again, you have to be pretty regular with your healing practice on it. So, but it's been good, even in spite of the rain, in spite of the overcast, in spite of not having all the accoutrements of a comfortable place to relax and be in. I'm super grateful. I'm here. I'm what is it? I'm living the dream, as it were. But it's not perfect, right? And there is no perfect place. There is no perfect partner. There is no perfect amount in your bank account. There is no perfect anything. It's, are you improving day after day after day after day? Are you becoming a better person every single day is the question. That's my question to you. Are you becoming a better person every day? Because if you are, all is well, right? If you are becoming a better person every single day, all is well. Our suffering is lack of virtue, and our liberation is from virtue. So just focus on, am I not being a bad person today? Yes, awesome. And am I planting the seeds of being a good person today? Awesome. Then you move your life forward, right? So let's begin. And everything's recording. We're good. Lighting, not too much funkiness from the screen. It's been a full day. I had lots of healings today, so I'm gathering myself. And I just finished my dinner. Got my smoothie over here. Got my electrolytes to the right of me. Got my flowers to the right of me. Keeping it real. So the first question: what is the best way to practice tithing? What is the best way to practice tithing? It's a great question. It's a question that we can keep revisiting over and over and over again because it's about knowing, remembering, practicing, and mastering. So as we are taught something, we have to make sure the thing that we're taught, we absorb it correctly, right? So somebody tells us something. Remember the old game of whisper down the lane? Somebody that starts it has a sentence or an idea, and then as it passes from one person to the next person to the next person, it gets what? Distorted. So the person doesn't even remember the right technique, the right protocol, the right teaching, right? So how can they get the result that's been proven to work? So if you want to be more materially and financially prosperous, abundant, and successful, there's a protocol, there's a practice that if you follow it, you'll be taken care of. As Grandmaster Chogo Kusui would say, if you follow the law will take care of you. So what's the law of sowing and reaping? What you give, you reap many times over. Now, the factor is when. We can only plant the seed, God grows the seed. We do not grow the seed. And that, I think, is a big challenge that people have. So we can plant it, we choose when to plant it, we choose how much fertilizer we put on it through spiritual blessings and decreeing. But at the end of the day, the great ones, God and the great ones, grow it. That's it. So we have to have a little bit of trust, a little bit of faith, a little bit, okay, I'm practicing it. It's like we wouldn't have the thought process about the law of gravity. Like, okay, when I have everything in line for this plane, is the plane going to stay up in the air throughout the whole duration? Does a pilot think that of like, okay, we have two wings, we have the right aerodynamics, but is gravity going to hold up, or is gravity going to let us down? Of course not. Gravity is what gravity is. It's a law. Karma is the same way. Tithing is the same way. The principle of abundance. So if you plant seeds of material and financial prosperity, you are entitled to receive those seeds to come back to you. Now, is it going to come back to you exactly at the time that you need, want, and desire it? Not always, and in most cases, probably not. But doesn't mean you're always going to be provided for. Your basic needs, yes. Okay, so tithing, we covered a video on this on Facebook almost a month ago when we were in San Juan, Puerto Rico. And again, it's to make it simple, right? Because there's a lot that we can talk about. I can't talk about everything with you because I'm not authorized to share these higher teachings. But again, in Grandmaster Cho Kuk Sui's class on Kriya Shakti, it's the process of materialization. How do you materialize something? And the principle that we can share of the 5 principles in that class is the principle of abundance, which is tithing and service. So to cover the tithing part, month in and month out, you give 10% of your net income to a spiritual or charitable organization of your choice, right? If you belong to a certain church, give there. If you belong to a certain mosque, give there. If you belong to a certain temple, give there. If you belong to a certain synagogue, you give there. If you are a spiritual and not religious person, then you give to the place that you get spiritually fed. Okay, so that's 10%. And when is it? Is it 10% when you feel like it? Is it 10% when you have the money? Is it 10% when it's convenient? Or is it 10% per month? It's 10% per month. Now you could tithe all of your money at one time of the day, at one time of the year, but then you have to wait for that growing season versus planting seeds. Think about it as a farmer, right? If a farmer just said, I'm going to plant all my crops now, you have to wait longer. There's other factors that take place. So it's recommended to do it at least once a month. You tithe at least once a month. Now, if you want feedback sooner, you can tithe smaller portions weekly, even daily. I have a friend of mine who tithes daily. Okay, that's up to you. So if he, let's say he has $1,000 for the month to tithe, he can give $1,000 for one day of the month, or he can give what? Break it up, and he can give $35 a day. Okay, so or 33.333, right, per day for 30 days to have it equal 1,000. So number one, 10%. Number two, monthly or more, right? Monthly or more. Number three, the right place, which would be the spiritual organization. So giving to your friends and family members in general doesn't count. Yes, it is planting the seeds of material and financial prosperity, but the karma gets amplified when you tie to a spiritual organization. It's how it works, right? You can do your own thing, but again, if you follow the law will take care of you. If you start making up the law and doing your own thing, or you misinterpret, Master Cho used to say this, if you misinterpret the law, what kind of results are you going to get? That's why I love when he would teach from stage, he would say, I'm just interpreting the law. He's not saying he has the end all be all knowledge of the highest possible universal truth of something, but he's well practiced and well versed in that law, and he can share it with us. But there's levels and levels and levels of truth, right? So he's interpreting the law. As I've heard him say before, do you trust your opinion or do you trust the opinion of the teacher, right? Who has a track record of success in business, in healing, in spirituality, in obtaining inner peace, illumination. Does the teacher have a track record of success? Yes. Then what would make more sense, to follow the teacher who has a track record, or to follow your own hunches that you don't have a track record of success? So if you've been having financial difficulties for many, many years, and you're talking to someone who is financially prosperous, who's been tithing regularly, who has a track record of success? You go, well, I don't feel tithing is the right thing for me, or I don't feel, I don't believe in tithing. Okay, but that's your opinion. It's irrelevant. The law of gravity works whether you fully understand it or not, or whether you believe in it or not, or whether you have an opinion about it or not. It's the law of gravity. Your job is to understand the law and utilize and harness the law for your benefit. Tithing is the same thing. What else? Tithing from a point of gratitude as well changes the energy. So you can give money to a charity or a spiritual organization or a church out of reluctance, out of scarcity, out of irritability, out of desperation, right? You can do that. And it changes the energy. It changes the seed that you're planting versus I'm coming from an abundant mindset. I have more than enough. Lots and lots of prosperity, abundance, and success flows through me and everything that I touch. And as I give this tithe, it's going to come back to me many, 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 many times. So you give from a point of gratitude. You give from a point of abundance because you're giving to yourself. Hello. And then you have to be ready, willing, and able to receive the good karma that's coming back to you. That's another factor. So you have gratitude when you're giving, and then you have an openness to receive. Like, yeah, I'm giving this so I can receive. I'm giving this so I can be more prosperous. I'm giving this to be more abundant, and that's okay, right? What else? What if you don't have the funds to give and you're giving based on you're using credit to give, credit card to give. So you don't have the $100 in your account, but on your credit card, there's $100. Can you give from that? Yes, not recommended, but it is a way of generating good karma and sowing seed, but you're going to have to pay that back. Hopefully you pay it back sooner than later, or you'll be, again, karmically indebted to the credit card companies. And by the way, I'm still working on understanding this. I'm still working on like I have an understanding and I've integrated a lot of it, but there's still more work to be done around it. We are all indebted, right? People talk about, I want to be debt free. I want to be debt free of my car. I want to be debt free of my house. I want to be debt free of anything and everything that's connected to the material and physical world. And Master Chogo Koksui says, ideally, you want to be debt free, right? But if you have real estate holdings, if you have other kinds of investments, you're usually leveraged out, right? So you have good debt, meaning you own that asset and it's paying you either monthly income or it's giving you appreciation, but you may owe $100,000 to pay off that debt, but it's paying you money every single month. It's putting money into your pocket every single month. So it's positive debt, right? Positive equity versus negative debt, negative equity or liability. But that being said, we are always going to owe someone something. Think about the sun. Here's the example, right? The sun radiates all the time. Without the sun, there'd be no physical life on the planet Earth, right? So the sun is like the teacher, always giving, 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 right? Think about how much energy the sun gives us every single day. Could we ever repay the sun back what it gives us? Of course not. Our spiritual teacher, our Sat Guru, is the same way. The teacher gives and gives and gives and gives and gives, like a parent would, and we as the children take and take and take and take and take to get fed, to grow up, and to eventually mature and start giving to others, right? So we can never pay back those who came before us. We can never pay back the great teachers, the great ones, the spiritual teachers. We're always going to be indebted to them, just like they are indebted to their teachers. It's how it works. So coming from the viewpoint of I don't want to owe anyone anything ever. It's like it's part of we take up space, right? It's the love aspect that's providing for us and nurturing us. So we're always going to owe someone something, no matter what, no matter how much we think we've neutralized our karma. There's always going to be someone that needs to be that we are quote unquote indebted to. Okay, so don't become fanatical with your viewpoint about like I got to pay off everything all the time, no matter what, and I'm a horrible person if I owe anyone anything. That's just on the material and physical level. What about what you owe people emotionally? What about what you owe people intellectually? People who taught you, right? Never mind the people who gave you things physically, but what about what about the emotions they've given you? What about the mindset that they've given you? What about the energy that they've given you? How do you pay that back? Right? How do you pay that back? You can't. So you just become a better person and then be a good example for other people and serve other people. Okay. Anything else I want to say about tithing? Hold on. Let me check. One more thing. I want to make sure I cover this person's question about tithing. So again, you can either tithe what you want to earn. So let's say I want to earn $10,000 a month. Okay, great. What do you need to tithe? $1,000 a month. But Christian, I don't make $1,000 a month. I make $5,000 a month. Okay, great. So then you either tithe less, so you tithe $500 of your 5,000. It's net. I'm using gross in this example. But if you want to be karmically entitled and to plant the seed of earning $10,000 per month, then you give $1,000 for that month. Does that mean you're going to make $10,000 the very next month after planting the seed? No, but it means you planted the seed. Does that make sense? It means you planted the seed. No seed being planted, no materialization. Okay. So I hope we didn't belabor it. This is a very, very important principle that if you want to be more materially and financially prosperous with less effort, tithing is an investment. It's not an expense, as Master Cho would say. Okay. People have turned their lives around through tithing. Even Anthony Robbins, he tells the story many, many times of going, I think he was in Newport Beach, if I'm not mistaken. I think he was in Newport Beach, and he didn't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of, and he was super depressed, super anxious about money, and he was just not having a good day. And he only had maybe $25 or $30 to his name, and he ended up going for a run on the beach. And then he saw this little boy holding the door for his mom going into a very nice restaurant. He had his little blazer on and his little tie and dress shirt, and he was adorable. And he says, he's asked, "Oh, well, what are you here today doing today?" He's like, "Oh, I'm having dinner, or I'm having lunch with my mom." And he says, "Well, why don't you pay for it?" He goes, "Oh, I don't have the money to pay for my mom, but I would like to." And so Anthony Robbins reached into his pocket, pulled out the $30, gave it to the little boy, and he walked away. And it was like the turning point of his entire life, because he gave, he felt amazing through the giving, he expanded, he overcame fear, he overcame doubt, he was able to trust. Nothing shifted other than what happened internally, right? And he felt amazing. And then he went home, and it was either that day or the following day, he received a check in the mail that paid for, I think 3 months. The check was enough for 3 months worth of rent. And he was able to make it happen. And that was the starting point of his stratosphere of development and personal financial growth. And he's now worth $500-600 million, give or take. But what was the seed? He planted not 10%, but he planted everything that he owned. You see the difference? And he planted it from gratitude. And there could have been a level of willingness to receive or desperation to receive, right? But he planted the seed. He was grateful for the opportunity to plant the seed. And then he learned a lesson, and then he started practicing more faith and trust. Now, am I recommending that you go into your bank account and drain it out and give it to some little boy that's wanting to take his mom out to brunch? Not necessarily. It's not what I'm saying. But I'm trying to give you the understanding about giving and receiving, because we all want to receive more. We all want to give more, hopefully, right? But it is in the giving, right? Prayer of St. Francis of Assisi, that we receive. It is in the giving that we receive. It's not the other way around, right? Any successful entrepreneur does what first? They do all the heavy upfront lifting for their product or service or their idea or their invention. sowing all the seeds, taking things from the inner world and making it physical, and then putting it out into the marketplace and getting rejected and getting turned down and getting ashamed and made a fool of. But they're planting, and they can do that for 5, 10, 15 years. And then we see them as an overnight success. But what seeds were being planted throughout that entire time? So if you want to speed up that process, willingly and gratefully and graciously give and receive through tithing. Have I made that point clear enough? Or okay. Next question. In pranic healing, we are told to face a certain direction while doing exercises like super brain yoga, prosperity meditation, twin hearts meditation, etc. But this is not emphasized in class, but is it because there are large pictures of MCKS in class, so pictures of Master Choa Kuk Sui? It's a very good question. So the direction you face affects your chakras. So if you face north, it does something to your chakras than if you face east, or if you face south, or you face west, right? So if you're sensitive, you can understand what's happening when you face the 8 different directions. My experience has been it's emphasized in class, and or the class is set up to be that way. Meaning we don't know all the ins and outs and intricacies of electricity, right? Most of us don't. But we walk into a house, we hit the switch, we have light, we're happy. We're leaving the house, we turn off the light, we're happy. So going into a pranic healing workshop, going into an arhatic yoga class, going into a arhatic yoga retreat, going into a spiritual vacation, things are already set up for the students to be facing the right direction. Now, what if there's a picture of Master Choa, or what if there's a picture of his teacher, Lord Mahaguruji Meiling? What happens? It changes the energy, meaning you can be facing west, right? But if there's a picture of the teacher above you, it's like facing east. Does that make sense? So sometimes logistically, it might not be plausible for everyone to be facing the right direction. So that's why the teachers or the instructors will have pictures of the teachers in certain positions throughout the class, bringing in certain kinds of energies. Okay, I can't go into all the details. It's actually taught in Pranic Feng Shui. The quality, the energies of the different directions. But that's why there's a portable ashram on the uspranichealing.com website, or the pranichealingusa.com website. It's a picture of the lineage, basically, of Grandmaster Choa Kuk Sui, Lord Mahaguruji Meiling, and Lord Buddha Kuan Yin in one strip. And then you can place that wherever you're traveling to. And that's east energy, spiritual energy coming into you, no matter what direction you're facing. Make sense? Next question. What are your thoughts on transgender people? What are my thoughts on transgender people? I'm inclined to answer the same way that one of the masters did when he was asked in a class. I don't know. I haven't done the research on it. And I'll stick mostly with that answer. And again, is the transgender person their gender? Is that who and what they are? No, it's an aspect. Our gender is an aspect of us. Our physical body is an aspect of us. Our feelings are an aspect of us. Our thoughts and belief systems are an aspect of us, but it's not who we are. Just like the carpenter is not the furniture. The furniture is a product of what the carpenter created. So everything that we experience with the 5 senses, the higher soul has created those things. So your higher soul is creating your thoughts. Your higher soul is creating your feelings. Your higher soul is moving your physical body, right? If my higher soul was not connected to my physical body would be dead, right? the higher soul is the animating factor of the body. So when people become over identified with the aspects, the lower aspects of who and what they think they are, they suffer, right? So a person born into a male body who thinks and feels and believes that this person was born into the wrong body and is actually a woman, right? In their mind, the person suffers tremendously. But if they realize they are the soul and the soul is sexless, right? Your higher soul doesn't have a penis, doesn't have a vagina, doesn't have body hair, doesn't have breasts. Your higher soul is a point of light, right? Infinite light. So we suffer when we think we're the lower aspects. So I always use the example as if I called you a tree, would you be offended? No. Why? Because you're like, I'm not a tree. Why would I become offended by something that I'm not? Right? But if I say you're a liar, would that offend you? It depends. If you identify with that as I'm working on that and I'm sensitive about that and I'm triggered by that, right? Then you would suffer from somebody saying that to you, but you wouldn't suffer from somebody calling you a tree. Years ago, if somebody were to say, you're a deadbeat dad, you're not a good father, I would have become highly offended by that because it was something I was struggling with and working on diligently to become better at. So I had a lot of sensitivities around it because I identified myself as what? Either being a deadbeat father or being an inadequate father, right? But as I did work around it, I'm like, I'm not that. So once you know who and what you are, you can't be manipulated. You can't be, yeah. Once you know who and what you are. So someone that is fighting for transgender rights or gay rights or Black rights or Asian rights or anything else, any kind of ism, any kind of activism, feminism, misogynism, capitalism, socialism, any of the isms are lower levels of truth that you can see causes a tremendous amount of suffering with people, right? What's the old saying? In polite company, we don't talk about politics or religion. Why? Because it's divisive. But isn't it funny that it's divisive? Talking about God, talking about oneness, talking about spirituality, which harmonizes, is divisive because they're lower levels of truth. So if someone is identifying as being in a different, having a different gender than what they were born with, if that's causing them suffering, they need to look at their viewpoint because suffering is in your viewpoint. Wrong viewpoint, you have lots of suffering. Right viewpoint, you have no suffering. Okay, so that's my short take on it. Maybe a little bit more than the master said. But this is a semi-private group, right? Next question. Whenever I do energy healing on someone, I feel weak and get strange pains in my body. What is happening? Well, you could be getting drained, is why you feel weak. So if your aura is not super expanded and super bright and filled with fresh energy, it's a little maybe stagnant or depleted, and you start working on somebody, they're pulling lots of prana from you. But if you have a strong connection to your higher self, energy is flowing, and they're pulling from that energy flowing through you versus connecting to the actual chakras and pulling the energy from them. Make sense? If you are feeling strange pains in your body, it's most likely congestion that you're picking up from that person. So let's say you're working on them and they have a headache, and then all of a sudden you get a headache. That's contamination. Let's say they have lower back pain and you're working on it, and then you all of a sudden have lower back pain. Or let's say you're working on them and they have arthritis of some kind or bug bite. All of these things, you're working on them energetically, and if you don't clean yourself properly and clean yourself properly, you take on the condition of your client. Makes sense? It's interesting if you look at therapists, like psychiatrists and psychotherapists, there's a tendency because they work with, in general, they have a specialization and they work with the same kinds of people for a prolonged period of time. They start taking on those qualities of their patients. So they work with people who have sex addiction, they start becoming a sex addict, right? You guys ever heard this before? It's, I don't know how common it is. I don't know the statistics on it, but it's enough in the anecdotal world that I'm sure there's some rationale behind it. Because these people are not disconnecting themselves, they're not practicing energetic hygiene. And pranic healing, what makes it a very unique energy healing modality is it has energetic hygiene practices like cutting cords, spraying the hands with alcohol and water solution, having a salt bowl, oming the space, doing meditation on twin hearts, taking salt baths, using lavender oil, right? There's all these different things that we do to keep ourselves energetically clean so we don't take on the suffering of our clients. It's not necessary to take on the suffering of a client in order to heal them. You don't need to jump in their boat. You need to bring them into your boat, only if they're willing, right? We can't force people to evolve. We can't force people to heal. We can't force people to become better. Don't worry, for those people, the lords of karma will be right there for them. Next question. Is there anything we can do to prepare for a great 2022? It's a great question. It's a great question. So I recommend, I've been doing this for many years, except this past year, and it's kind of a funny story, but what I would recommend, and we do this, the East Coast in the United States with the Master Glenn and Master Marilag do this, and then on the West Coast, Master Co does this. I'm not sure what the other masters around the world do, but I just know what's happening in the US, is that they will have a year-end meditation, typically on the 31st of December and the 1st of January. A year-end meditation where you review your year, what happened in 2021, the ups, the downs, the challenges, the fun things, the unfun things, what happened throughout the year? What were your goals? Did you accomplish your goals, right? And then we do cleansing, forgiving, letting go of that year so we can then plan and energize the upcoming year, right? So it's usually a 2-hour practice that the masters will do. I'll be posting stuff on Facebook. If you're following me there, you can see it. I'll also post it in this group as well, so you can see it. But I recommend doing that. Another thing I recommend is having an intention. It's not a resolution. It's not something specific that you're going to do. Like, I want to lose 20 pounds. I want to, be able to lift 100 pounds over my head. I want to make $1 million in the stock market. It's not a resolution for a specific goal, but it's an energy that plays in the background of your year. So for instance, you could say the energy of courage, the energy of prosperity, the energy of gratitude, the energy of empowerment, the energy of generosity, the energy of love, the energy of intimacy, the energy of adventure, right? I recommend 1 word, 2 words at the max, because it makes it clear, it makes it powerful, and then it's easy to be aware of it, right? Because if you have this long sentence or paragraph that's convoluted, it's harder to tap into those energies. But if you're like, okay, 2022 is the year of adventure. 2022 is the year of is gratitude. 2022 is the year of growth. 2022 is the year of prosperity. And that's the energy that is going to be running in your consciousness all year long. Now, the funny thing is, this past year, so December 2020, I started to prepare. What's my intention? I was asking the question, I think even in mid-November, what am I going to have for my intention for 2021? What's my intention? What's my intention? And I thought about it and thought about it and thought about it and thought about it. Nothing came to me. I was already into January, February, March. Still nothing came to me. I wasn't giving up on myself. I was like, I could still hold an intention for the remainder of the year. Only this past week did I remember that I forgot to have a clear intention. Now, 2021 was the greatest year of my life for many, many different reasons. It was the greatest year of my life. So maybe The no intention, maybe. It could be the intention of flexibility, adaptability, fun, or I said adventure, right? So I would recommend looking at that. And over the years, the different intentions I've had have been very rewarding and have suited me well at that time in my life. So spend a couple hours this month of December and go, okay, what's my intention? Not my resolution, not a goal, not a milestone, but what's the background energy I want to have in my life for all of 2022? Okay. So that's something I would recommend. Watching what the masters do at the end of the year, and it's 2 hours, so you have to set aside some time. I'm pretty sure Master Glenn doesn't record his year end, and Master Code does. Either way, if you can attend both, do it. Next, how can I instantly make my home or office beautiful? How can I instantly make my home or office beautiful? Well, number one, activate your heart. That's instant. So as you're sitting in your home, activate your heart. Home is where the heart is. As you're at the office, activate your heart. Why is that important and why does that make something beautiful? Because the heart transforms and transmutes energy. So as the heart is expanding, it's radiating more pink and gold energy, and that's transforming and transmuting the negative energies, the darkness within your environment, right? That's one thing you can do instantly to make a place more beautiful. Number two, have flowers. When I moved in here, the first day that I moved in here, I went to the grocery store and I got 2 bouquets of flower, bought a vase, is that how you say it? Vase, and put the beautiful flowers here, and they're right here right now. Right? You guys, I don't know, can you see it? Yeah. Kind of hard holding this with one weird hand. But anyways, those are the flowers. There you go. Okay. So that's how I'm able to make the space beautiful. Because there are beings connected to flowers. And they're actually the beings of beauty. Right? So the beings of beauty radiate and emanate these energies. Okay. Also, you can do essential oils, which is what? The essence of a flower, primarily, right? Plants, flowers, mostly plants and flowers. And that radiates. So when you put the oils in a diffuser, a water diffuser, or you put the oils in a flame, or you just open, take the top off and just let the oil sit in the open air, it's radiating beauty, right? And as Master Toho Koksui would say, inner beauty is more important than outer beauty. That's why I started with focusing on your heart and radiate from within outward beauty instead of how can I put more makeup on to be beautiful? How can I, get injections to be more beautiful? How can I lose 30, 40, 50 pounds to be more beautiful, right? It's an inside out job. How many people know people that are very attractive but are ugly people? It's like in your consciousness, but you can't quite pinpoint it. You're like, this person's very attractive, but there's something ugly about them because the person's missing inner beauty. Then you have other people that are not physically attractive, but they are beautiful. There's an essence about them. What is it? It's the radiating inner beauty, primarily coming from the heart and partly from the sex. It's also they have good emotions. That's another part. So good self-esteem, good self-worth, good emotions. They have a clean emotional body. Also allows the inner beauty, the qualities, the good qualities of the person to radiate. Next question. Is there a certain number of healings you would recommend that wouldn't be too much or not enough? That depends. So in pranic healing, we work on the protocol methodology, meaning Okay, in our experience with people that have a migraine of this caliber, it's this many healings either in the day, in the week, or for the next month, right? So for instance, mental retardation, those are regular healings for life. So you just go, all right, well, this is it. This is what I've signed up for. This is the family member that I have to heal. This is the partner that I have to heal. This is um, the challenge that I'm willing to accept. Okay, I have to heal this person for the rest of their life. Okay, right? If you're a caregiver or something like that. I've noticed in my own life and then working with clients that if a person gets healing regularly a couple times a week, their week and their life is smoother. There's less hiccups, there's less ups and downs, there's less difficulty, right? Because what is pranic healing? It's removing congestion and then speeding up the assimilation of good energy. So people that get one healing a week are going to notice greater results if they get 2 healings a week, 3 healings a week, 4 healings a week. Now, is there an excessiveness? Can you get too much healing? It's possible because it's not only healing. People have to understand this. It's not just healing. It's also the lesson that's connected to the condition or ailment that the person has, right? So for instance, if you have anger issues, you can get healing to remove the anger energy, which is like a darkish, reddish, grayish energy, right? After you get angry, right before you're about to get angry, it's bright, bright, bright red. You ever seen that? Like you're so angry you see red. It's because the basic and the main are sparking energy, but then that energy quickly goes from bright red to dim grayish red. Not good. Not pleasant to connect to. Okay, so you can get healing to remove the anger, but if you don't understand why you're angry, if you don't practice forgiveness towards the person or persons or situation that made you angry and move forward, you're just going to keep experiencing that again and again and again and again and again and again. So you get healing every single day and you'll partially feel better, but it will never be permanent if you don't forgive, learn the lesson, and move forward. Does that make sense? So healing is super, super effective in helping people, but you also need to have understanding as to why you are the way you are and why this is happening in your life. Okay. So it depends on the person. It depends on the situation. It depends on their needs. If you're having a really, really stressful time in your life, you're going to need more healing, period. If everything is hunky-dory and copacetic and harmonious and you're doing your other practices throughout the day and throughout the week, one healing a week, one healing every 2 weeks, you're good to go. I recommend people get more regular healing than not, right? Especially if you want to accomplish something. If you want to stretch yourself and take yourself to the next level, you need to have the energy and the purification to go there. Make sense? Right? If you're making $50,000 a year and you want to make $500,000 a year, you got to grow. You got to become a bigger, better person. So it requires more healing, more awareness, more understanding, more practical application of what you know, more tithing. See, all connected. What is the most difficult condition to heal? I have a feeling this question was asked before. What is the most difficult condition to heal? Anything that's karmic. Which actually ties into the previous question. You can have the most powerful healer on the planet, but if there is karma and or a lesson connected to that condition, that's why Grandmaster Chola Kuksuya says, if the person's even if the healer is great, even if the healer is a grandmaster, the person has to be karmically permissible to be healed. Now, that's not all cases. If you have a migraine headache you've had it for a couple of days or a couple of weeks, it doesn't mean that it's karmic and no healer on the planet can help you with that condition. But if it's really karmic and it's really intense and there's a big, fat, juicy lesson connected to it, healing will only have a minimal effect. And even tithing will have a minimal effect because there's a lesson that you have to learn the lesson. You have to have the awareness and you have to have the understanding, and then you can transform like that. Service helps with that. Tithing helps with that. But you also have to learn the lesson, which is super, super important. So the most difficult condition is someone who doesn't have karma in their karmic bank account, and or there's a big lesson connected to that karma. So the healer can guide, the healer can nudge, the healer can make suggestions. And it's funny because if it's karmic, the healer will not be able to give the right information. Or if it's karmic, the healer can give the right information, but the person doesn't hear it. Think about that. How many of us have been told to do the right thing many, many, many times, and we consistently catch ourselves in the same situation again and again and again and again and again? Like I swear I've been here before, and I swear I've had someone tell me, I told you so, I told you so, I told you so, because the person is not karmically entitled to hear the lesson, to hear the guidance, myself included. Not for lack of trying, God knows I've been trying, but there are certain things that I cannot comprehend. I'm like, I'm stuck here again. How do I get out of this? What's the lesson? And like good parents, the great teachers are saying, okay, this soul is ready, willing, and able to learn. Maybe not going to do it perfect. Maybe still going to step off the rails a little bit, but at least they have the awareness that something's not working. There's suffering being created for themselves and others. They're trying to learn the lesson, trying to do the right thing, trying to become a better person. Will ease off on some of the karma, right? But if you're going in with pride, know-it-all, belligerence, ignorance means not knowing. We're all ignorant on something to a lesser or greater degree. But stupidity is doing something in spite of the evidence, going against the evidence. So if you do something intentionally, the karma is much different than if you do something accidentally. You see the difference? As a parent, if your child makes a mistake that's an honest mistake, you might be upset. It might cost $100 to fix it, but you get on with your day. But if your child is intentionally doing something to hurt themselves, to hurt their siblings, to destroy a neighbor's property, intentionally, you as the parent have to drop the hammer, and there's severe consequences. So it's the same thing with the great teachers. If we're intentionally trying to hurt someone, take advantage of somebody, practice the vices versus the virtues, the consequences will be severe. I also know about this firsthand. Don't recommend that path. So the most difficult condition to heal is one that is karmic, which could be anything. It's typically severe: cancer, diabetes, AIDS, sexual abuse, sexual trauma, molestation, things like that. They're severe, and there's usually a big fat karmic lesson connected to it. That's why it's difficult to heal. Next question. Should I always use a crystal when I do energy healing? Well, should I always use it? No, not always. If you're working with children, don't use a crystal. If you're working with the elderly, don't use a crystal. If you're working with super sensitive person, don't use a crystal. Use your hands, soften your energy. Place your left hand hovering above your front heart chakra, not the pads on your heart, but hovering in front of your heart, which softens your energy. and allows it to penetrate the person easier and not so intensely. Okay. And what do we talk about? Pink loving energy transforms and transmutes. So when someone's purging and you project pink energy, it transforms, transmutes the purging energies. Don't become reliant on crystals. Don't become reliant on tools. These are simply tools that help you do the work more efficiently, more effectively. That's what a tool is designed to do. It's a leveraging. It leverages your effort. That's what a tool is. But I know people that go, oh, I don't have my crystal with me, so I can't heal. Or I haven't taken the crystal healing class, so I can't heal. Well, that's not accurate. You have a hand, you can wave your hand in the air, you can remove the congestion from that person and help alleviate their pain and move forward. Right? Make sense? So you don't always have to use a crystal to heal. It's helpful 95% of the time to use a crystal, less contamination, more, it makes your job faster. Using a crystal speeds up healing about 300 to 400%, right? But you don't need to use a crystal to perform miracles. Also, it deals with proper training. It deals with how clean your crystal is, what kind of crystal you have. There's all these different factors that's taught in Pranic Crystal Healing, the class and the book. Last question. I don't feel happy most of the day. What would you recommend I do to fix that? I don't feel happy most of the day. What would you recommend I do to fix that? Good question. Well, what's the factor as to why you're unhappy? Is it your diet? Diet affects moods, diet affects hormones, diet affects sleep. Is it your sleep? See how they're connected? If your sleep is off, if you don't get rest, you're going to be what? Irritable, sluggish, not going to be very happy. What's your exercise regimen like? Exercise releases endorphins, the feel-good hormones, right? Are you consistent with exercise? Are you consistent with good sleep? Are you consistent with a good nutritional program? Do you have any allergies? Are you in a stressful environment at work and or at home? Do you live in a contaminated city? You could be empathic and not even know it. You could be thinking you're sad, thinking you're depressed, thinking you're down and out, but you're actually just connecting with all the energy in your environment, right? So you have to isolate the factors and go, okay, what's my sleep? What's this? What's that? What are my interactions with other people? Do I have loving interactions with people, but I'm still unhappy? Or do I have miserable interactions with people and that's why I'm unhappy, right? Looking at your family tree, do you have a history? My family tree does. Do you have a history of depression in your family tree, on your mom's side, on your dad's side? That's a factor, genetic factor. You're predispositioned to be depressed. But Christian, didn't you say earlier that we're not our emotions? Yes, we're not our emotions. You're using your mind, your mental body to come up with the solution so you can start feeling happy, right? So pranic healing is what? Cleansing and energizing. So as you're doing this self-check, where are you at? Then you can start purifying those thought patterns, those feeling patterns, the physical things, purify, and then open up the portal or gateway for greater bliss, greater happiness, greater joy. It's also a level of refinement. So if you have a dark, dirty, heavy energy body, it's going to be very hard for you to feel happiness, which vibrates much, much higher. Right? It's like a depressed person that's going from being depressed to happy in one jump. It's more of a ladder or stair stepping. to get, so you go from shame and guilt to fear to anxiety to sadness to um, acceptance to normalcy to right. So you're kind of moving up the emotional ladder, as it were, and that's okay. It's and people have a misunderstanding about happiness because number one, you're a being of divine light, love, and power. So you have the power to change your state. So if you're not happy right now, you can literally, through your will alone, become happy. One way of doing that is smiling. Even a fake smile activates the heart, expands you, and makes you feel good, joyful. But people go, what? Well, I have nothing to smile about. Therefore, I'm not going to smile. You have it opposite, literally the opposite viewpoint. You're going, well, when the environment gives me feedback to be happy, then I'll be happy, right? That's how most of us operate. Versus, I am aware that my emotional body is not happy. It's not joyful. It's not bubbling. It's not radiant. I'm going to change that. And then you start using the will to change it through all the different ways. Physically change it, emotionally change it. It's interesting. On some level, people who are addicted to drugs started out not feeling good and then used their will to not do good. They use their will to take the drugs, to find the supplier, to do the research, to take the right dosages, blah, 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 blah. The will to alter their state. But that's the shortcut. And obviously, that's not a long-term strategy that's successful. So you don't do that. Change from within, change through the will, change through understanding, change through getting healing, change through doing meditation, change through serving others, change through tithing. That's the long-term successful strategy that will always win. Here's the thing. If drug usage, whether it's under the guise of spirituality or not, was so successful, why are so many people talking about the downside of drugs? Why are drugs illegal? Why do people regret doing drugs? Why is there shame and guilt around doing drugs? If drugs are so wonderful and helping people transform, why don't the great teachers talk about it more often? And why does it have a bad thing on society? But when you talk about generosity and giving, what happens? You expand. Everything makes sense. It's a self-evident truth. Of course, giving is the right thing to do. You don't hear people talking about, I wish I didn't give so much. You hear people talk about, I wish I didn't give so much emotionally, but that's a different conversation. Just on the physical plane, people that give are more materially, financially prosperous than people who are stingy or withholding of their resources, right? So something to keep in mind. You can will yourself to be happy, just like you can will yourself to be miserable, right? You can make your own hell or your own heaven because you are being a free will. If your life is sucking right now, will yourself to improve, not from aggression, but from awareness, understanding, gratitude, and application. Like, okay, I'm aware that I feel like crap. What are all the factors determining why I feel like crap? Okay, what can I do to start feeling better? And then start doing those things. That's it. Well, Christian, that takes too much mental effort. Yeah, you're right. It takes will. It's too much emotional effort. You're right. It takes will. Too much physical effort. You're right. It takes will. You have to will it. Okay. Ta-da! We're done with our questions, everybody. Yay! I hope it was helpful. I hope you got something from it. We'll be posting this right now when we sign off. But Thank you for those who submitted their questions. Much appreciated. May the good karma come back to you many, 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 many times in greater wisdom and more answers to your questions. And then we'll be catching you guys real soon. So let's close. Beware the heart, beware the crown, beware them together. To the Supreme God, Divine Father, Divine Mother, respect and beloved teacher, Grandmaster Choa Kok Sui, to his teacher, Lord Bodhisattva Mei Ling, to Lord Buddha Kuan Yin, to Lord Ganesh, to Mother, to Saraswati, to all the holy gurus, holy masters, saints, archangels, holy angels, healing ministers, to our divine selves, our higher souls, we thank you all for your great, great blessings, for your soothing, healing energies, for your transformational energies. We thank you. In full faith, so be it. And let's see. Okay. The microphone was the right microphone. Because it was going to be an echoey day for you guys. Awesome. So lots of love to each and every one of you. I will catch you on the Flippity McFlipperson. This is Christian Long, Life Enhancement Consultant, wishing you a beautiful day, a beautiful week, and a beautiful life. Atma, namaste. Bye-bye.